Well, hello, listeners. This is Jim, your Keys bartender, a Keys bartender. We've talked about that before. I didn't want to be the Keys bartender, but according to this podcast, I am the Keys bartender, not the only suitable or appropriate or capable bartender in the Keys. Just that's the way it is. I am coming to you I told you we were getting some cool weather, and we did get some cool weather today. It was so cool today that let me tell you what happened this morning. I was getting up extra early with my family. My wife and daughter were going to head. She heads to the gym before she drops her daughter off, goes to the gym, and then goes to work because she starts work around 9 o'clock. So they head out of here at 20 after 7. Well, at about 20 minutes later, I was supposed to go up to Miami. I recently purchased a used vehicle from a dealership, a low mileage used vehicle. It was a good deal. I saw it on Carfax, but it had a dent in the right rear corner, and we agreed on the price and all that. And I asked also that they fix the dent. So I had to take it up there to get it fixed and get a loaner. So I did. I was planning on that. I didn't do it yet, but so it's 25 to 7 rolls around. The family goes out. Temperature's still in the lower 50s. Now, that may not seem like cold down here, but the cars down here aren't used to experiencing that too much. So when you, like up north, you find out when your battery starts going bad, usually on the first cold days, because it takes a little more. And that battery must have been on the way out because she went out there and it was click, click, click. And I looked at it and I remembered I had purchased it over 3 years ago, and I'm looking at the battery and it didn't look that great. I said, wow, I was cheap. Some cheap bastard, buying a $100 battery, a $107 battery. So we had all that action going on with 15 minutes to spare before I had to take the car back. And so I gave her my old car, which I was selling, that still was insured and registered, to drive there. And I took my car I just purchased up north and pushed her car back in the driveway, vowing to fix it. So we went up north, and then said it's kind of chilly, and in Miami it even got colder. It was in the upper 40s at night, which is extremely cold for down here. They have only I know people around my age, 57 years old, and I think they said it was 1977 when snow fell and it landed on the ground, and obviously always lands on the ground. But I mean, it landed and stayed for a little while. They didn't have any significant accumulation, but that was the only time they ever really saw snow down here in Miami. So that was the beginning of my day. And I drove up there, got up there at 9 o'clock, dropped my vehicle off, got the loaner, headed back, dealing with Miami. Miami is full of, is known for having aggressive drivers. And usually people down here, they get all kind of veiled comments about Cuban Americans being the aggressive drivers. Trust me, there's plenty of people that look exactly like me that are aggressive drivers too. Just because the community has a high percentage of Cuban Americans doesn't mean all Cuban Americans are bad drivers and that they're aggressive. It's just the Miami drivers are aggressive. It is a high-paced, fast-moving highways here. I mean, people zipping in and zipping out. It looks like a speedway, a racetrack when you're going down there. So for me, it's almost it's almost a 50 miles up, 50 miles back, and then I had the loaner. I drove back. Bought a new battery, a better battery. Quality counts. I should have remembered that. They always say, you get what you pay for. But, that old battery, even though it was cheap, still did last 3 years. And that's surprising. It wouldn't have lasted 3 years up north. It was a crappy Kmart battery. And I figure you can see that because Kmart's almost closed. What do you got? 30 stores left, right? So I went to one of these chain stores and got a Delco battery, or Die Hard battery, a Gold Series, that used to be the Kmart brand, but they don't have that. I don't think they have it anymore. But it's a decent battery. Not that, obviously it's not the top of the line, but it's $200. So I got that. And in the new cars nowadays, they, at least on some of the new cars, and this is on a particular Chevy brand, they put the computer on top of the battery. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So you got to be really careful about how you do it. You don't want to screw up your car computer. So, yeah, I dealt with that this morning. Then I changed the battery out, took the old one back to the store, which, was back and forth. And I did, and then took my wife's car, took it down to her place of work, picked up my old car, drove it back to the house because I'm selling it. And all told, it was around 150 miles of driving this morning, and then coming to do the podcast. But it was highway driving. There's only a couple places where there was slow down city driving. We go stop and go, and that's when I got up to Miami for the last 2 miles, and down here when you go into Islamorada, like I said. And I said Miami has the aggressive drivers. Yesterday, I was dropping my daughter off at school, and when I drop her off at school, I normally go to the gym right after that, and I'm pulling up to a school zone, but the light had gone off, so it's regular traffic. And the traffic light, it's only a traffic light. It's a warning light normally, just yellow, flashing yellow. It turned back to a flashing yellow light at this school that had already opened, so the school zone is open, and the traffic signal's not going on. It's not changing to green anymore. So anybody stuck in that street is waiting for an opening in the traffic, but it's still, 8:30 in the morning. That's when it's kind of busy down here. 2 lanes, 1 lane going north, 1 going south where I was. And some guy decides to zip out 100 feet in front of another truck that was going south, and in front of me, which was ended up being about 20 feet. And I almost hit him with my car I just purchased. And he has a pickup truck, and he fishtailed it. And I wrote down his license plate. I didn't know what I was going to do. But the guy, if he got any crazy, or if he hit anybody or did anything, at least I would have had notice of that. Now I know when I'm dropping my daughter off, I'm going to be a little more attentive coming out of that section, because if he's dropping his kids off every day at that school, I might have to deal with him once or twice, or someone will have to deal with him. Hey, listen, if you're using your vehicle for your impatience is a quick trip to either the emergency room or the morgue. And like I said in previous shows, there's been an inordinate amount of deaths on Route 1 down here. I don't want to be a downer, though. You have to really be careful when you're driving, because there's a lot of things going on. You have a lot of people. There's multiple things going on. You're on an island. There's no workaround. So when there's an accident, it usually stops. That's the main thoroughfare. And there's only a couple places where you can kind of go around if you're lucky. But that wasn't one of them. And so if you even have a minor fender bender, it causes a big disruption. If it's worse, it's a huge disruption. So you got to really be careful. And then you have tourists who aren't exactly, a lot of international tourists who are sometimes driving, and they don't have as much experience with our traffic patterns when you're driving. Now, when I drove in Poland or Germany or anything like that, people are similar. There's slightly different rules in different countries, but they're generally the same. About pulling off to the side when someone's passing. You got to find out what the slow lane is, if you're going to go regular, and what the passing lane is. But on these 2-lane roads, people try to make an extra lane out of the the breakdown lane or the shoulder, and then try to go around. And we get a lot of pedestrians and people on bikes and stuff like that, so we got to be careful all around. But that being said, it's not even really season yet, so I'm just waiting for that. And you just got to be on the ball. Within a week, I almost had a truck merge into me, also another one, other than that, all that other stuff. And I did pass that accident where the woman got hit. I mean, it was like a minute after it happened. And that's a sad thing. You just got to be careful for those people down here. It's a small town with a lot of people on the road, and a lot of construction vehicles and a lot of trucks, because it's like a long, tenuous supply line. It's all supplied by truck all the way going down there. So, on a lighter note, very interesting. I come home, I do all that stuff. I feel fun, kind of accomplished. I talked to a couple people that were interested in my my old car. And what happens that people do with that is I posted it on a social network on the marketplace they have. And down here, we're in South Florida. And you know the largest, I hesitate to call it minority group, because I think they could be the majority. This between Miami and South, I think more than half the people are native Spanish speakers, or they speak Spanish at home very comfortably. So my name's Jim Horan, and I posted for this vehicle, and I'm getting questions in Spanish. And I answer them. Some of them I understand. I understand the questions. Others are using slang, so I got to translate it. And then I said, I no habla Espanol. I can speak some of it. I understand when you're asking for price and this and that. And then they go lowball you right away. And I say, that's not. It's nice when they lowball you right away, because it tells you, to get real low, you say, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to deal with it. They're going to, if you start lowball and someone's asking you less than 50% of the price, then they're actually looking for a 25% cut, because you're going to come back, and if it's, let's say $6,000 and they come with $3,000, and you go, wow, what do I have to work with? You try to be legit, and the fuckers are trying to lowball you all the way down. Yeah, the guy, well, no, it wasn't $3,000, it was like $2,500. Something like that. I'm not saying that's the exact price, because the car's not in that good shape. It's actually lower than that. And, some of them that are doing it, I realize most people have driver license and things like that. I am a notary, so when we do this transaction, I'm going to insist that we do it legitimately and get everything transferred and notarized. So I'll just say, hey, listen, this is what the car is, and blah, 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 blah. Sign over. I have the title. Sign it over to them, and let's get it. Let's go over to DMV and do it. Because they'll just take off, and, if anything should happen, I'm still the owner of the vehicle, according to them. If they got in an accident, I'll be liable. And they can say, oh, I didn't buy it. I was just driving it. Or just leave it there. They'll leave it and I have to get it towed. So, truth in advertising, I asked for a price. I'm trying to stick close to it. Or, I may, whatever. I may work with them a little. But I didn't put that price there to go half. And that's the end of that. But like I said, truth in advertising, I was watching the news when I got back. I was hungry. I had a little breakfast, but I was hungry from doing all this, the battery, driving up to Miami and back, and delivering my wife's car with the new battery back to her place. And I turn on the news, and all of a sudden I hear a kind of a light, lilting opera singer, a woman in a yoga class. And I go, what's that about? But the singing isn't coming from the person's voice. It's coming from their crotch. It's a commercial for a a pharmaceutical item, over-the-counter pharmaceutical to fight yeast infection. So it was a singing vagina. And then they ended it where they ended, and the person's, she's doing the spread eagle on the headstand with spread eagles, doing the singing out of the vagina. You don't see the, lips move, pun intended. But it's kind of interesting that, a lot of commercials, like, they're not doing a lot of they do some of the Disney commercials you see now since COVID, and you don't see as many of the vacation commercials. You see some of them, the advertising, come to Sandals, or they're advertising. We're getting advertisements for cruises. We went on a cruise before. And there are some people who go on cruise, and what they end up. If you went on a cruise now, you'd be on a cruise with a bunch of people that don't think this pandemic is anything to really worry about. So that's who you'd be, you have to consider that. It's funny, next week I'm getting my second, I hope I'm getting my second shot. I'm trying to get in touch with the place. But, there's not a lot of these commercials out there. There's some car commercials out there. Carvana's huge. That's a huge, a big sales. Is President's Day is coming up, so that's going to be President's Day sale. Oh, that was last month maybe. But there's always a goddamn sale going on sometime. But with the commercials, though, you think about the getting on the bottom of the barrel. There's money behind commercials, and they always say, hey, we got to get the word out. Remember when it first, I don't know if it was for Viagra, but they did the one where it's kind of a retro commercial, a guy in the 1950s and 60s, Bob. And he's playing golf or something like this at the time. And you got Wood. We talked about this like 2 years ago on the show. And they were just talking about, how the wife's happy and all that stuff. And they're talking about him having a hard-on and being able to erect a penis. And you got the Big Hurt talking about it, and the commercials like that. Okay, I get it. Just people are more open. There's a lot of money in that. Pepto-Bismol. For years you see all these things about, plop, plop, Alka-Seltzer Plus, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, what a relief it is. They talk about gas and all that stuff, and not go into detail what it covers. And same thing with Pepto-Bismol. They just use the code word, and I'm going to use air quotes, upset stomach. Upset stomach. Well, that's now they do the song. They wrote a song that contained all and it's been for a couple of years, I guess 4 or 5 years, or whatever, kind of like a conga line where they almost like the Electric Slide or the Macarena. Yeah. Upset stomach, diarrhea. And they just go right into diarrhea. And they'll play that. I mean, the people with their big screen television are eating, they could be eating anything. And then all of a sudden they see commercial for yeast infection and diarrhea. And that is interesting. I mean, it's just unfettered, the commercials. And the things they used to have commercials. There used to be a lot of commercials for toilet paper, and now they got one company spends money on toilet paper. I mean, commercials for toilet paper. You don't hear that from Scott, let's say. Scott's paper towel they don't do it. Brawny, though. Brawny advertises paper towels. The McDonald's, you see McDonald's sometimes. McDonald's puts it in big ad campaigns just to gin up the business. If it's running great, yeah, we're going to throw some money. When do they choose to spend money on advertisements? There's like a vodka company out there. I'm not going to say its name, but it's the name of one of the Jackson 5. And it's not Michael or Jermaine. And I never see a commercial for that vodka. But I've seen it for Smirnoff. I've seen it for Goose, Belvedere. I've seen rum, Bacardi, but not everyone does it. Sometimes you see Bud commercials, Bud Light commercials, and then you don't see a Bud Light commercial for the longest time. And I think it's in response, maybe. Who knows? Why did he come up with those commercials, and why they decide to, Pepto-Bismol. Like, there's not a lot of people out there who know that Pepto-Bismol works for diarrhea, so they decided, hey, we'll just write a song and talk about it. I don't know the nuances of advertising, stuff like that. And then they drop the advertising for TV shows. They want to get pumped up, get the viewership pumped up so they can pump up the advertising for it. That's just I just don't get it sometimes why they do it. Why ketchup commercials? There used to be a ketchup commercial all the time for Heinz. And Heinz is the number one ketchup. I was going to say condiment, but probably there's another one, But then a couple years back, I think Heinz came up with a mustard. And when they came up with a mustard, French's came up with a ketchup. And you always had Heinz. Always had Heinz ketchup, and you had Hunt's ketchup. The big two. It's like Coke and Pepsi. 7-Up and Sprite. McDonald's, Burger King. Right? Let's say, let's pick someone. There's all different things. There's always like two alternatives of it. And then there's a third, like with Coca-Cola. Soda was so big, you had Coke, Pepsi, and Royal Crown. And then a bunch of knockoff things, right? And pizzas. Oh, pizzas, right? I never understood the one that said made with the best ingredients and stuff like that. Just because they said that. Because if it was the best ingredient, I think that pizza tastes like shit. The sauce was too sweet. It's like eating a candy pizza. And I didn't like the crust. And I'm not a big fan of the other one that's around of a... I don't want to say the name of it. It's the name of a game. I'm not a big fan of that either. Maybe the one that's named after a diminutive Roman leader. That one was okay. And the place is called Pizza Residence, but another name for a residence, a more modest residence, or a pizza. Let's call it Pizza Shed. That was more a restaurant than they. So it always seems like there's the chicken places, but you got KFC. KFC there was hardly any, except in the South. You had Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, but that's chicken sandwiches. They specialize in chicken sandwiches. So at the nuances of it, you see Pepsi and Coke go head to head, and people either like Pepsi or they like Coke. Same thing with vehicles, but in Lexus and cars, like the Lexus, A December to Remember. And there was a great commercial on Saturday Night Live right before Christmas where the woman opens up a box and there's a key to a Lexus that's sitting in the driveway. And it turns out the guy hasn't worked for almost a year or like 9 months. And she goes, where'd you get the money to buy the car? We don't have any money. You're not working, blah, 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 blah. And then the neighbor comes up and bugs him for the money that he borrowed from him, shit like that. And the guy's drinking on the parking lot and he's talking, he's just talking a little shit. But that's some kind of upper class shit when you're sitting around Christmas and you open up a box and there's a car key and it's sitting in the driveway. And who the fuck doesn't know there's a car in their driveway they haven't seen before? I mean, you got to have a pretty big ass driveway. As soon as my wife would get a cup of coffee, she would notice that there's a car in the driveway. I'd have to like park it across the street or something like that. But that's some upper class shit. And I'm sure there's black people that do it, and there's Latins that do it. Stuff like, hey, I got your car. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do, you know. It'd be nice. It would be really nice. But I guess they're really suggesting. I guess the prices, they make so much profit from it. They could run that commercial during It's a Wonderful Life, knowing that only maybe 3 or 4 people out of 100 in the United States could actually entertain the possibility of getting a Lexus and leave it in their driveway. But you see the guy with the fucking the sealant company who gets in a boat with a screen door on the bottom. That's all over the fucking place. Now 99% of the people in the United States, well, not the 4% I'm talking about buying it, but that's where most of the people, that's where their pocketbooks are. You see, $19.99, you get a bunch of Flex Seal. There you go. Just sitting around, gluing shit together. It's either a Lexus or a roll of tape that doesn't fucking even work. It doesn't work on pools. They show this guy slapping on the side of a pool and shit like that. I mean, how disappointing have kids been when the dad goes, hey, I know there's a leak in the pool and stuff like that, but I can use some flex tape. And they take the flex tape and it doesn't even fucking work. So, ineffective commercials, right? Ineffective commercials. Widely varying commercials. Between yeast infection stuff, Flex Seal stuff, and Lexus. Getting a lease on a Lexus. And you're watching a show that a lot of wealthy people watch when all you see is Volvo, Lincoln Continental commercials and shit like that. And you go, wow. This is a show that has a demographic, and I am not in that demographic. It's funny. You say, because if you're watching, what's the one? The little beauty queen, or 600 Pound Life. 600 Pound Life. My 600 Pound Life should be like all Domino's pizza commercials, Uber Eat commercials, all that shit. Or Walmart. When you see Walmart commercials or Aldi's or anything like that, it's going to be, what's the one with the little girl who was in it? It's just a trailer people. And honey something babies. I don't even know the commercial. Or Kardashians. What the fuck? Kardashians. People watching shows where Kardashians are getting on their yachts and shit like that. But the commercials are all for like lead press on nails and shit like that. So a bunch of poor people watching wealthy people. There used to be a show in the 80s called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. That was just pathetic. Where you had this Australian, I think it was Australian, Robin Leach. What appropriate name, Leach. Doing, we're showing up these ostentatious motherfuckers with their big yachts and their mansions and stuff like that. The nouveau riche. The bourgeoisie, I guess you'd call them. Because old money wouldn't go. I mean, unless you had one of the kids go, this is my Lamborghini, this is that. But old money, they don't mess around with that shit. That's all new money. I would like to see the one with Vladimir Putin, because Vladimir Putin has that multi-billion-dollar mansion he built, and the guy that they just threw in jail in Russia, Navalny, the opposition. I guess Putin's running out of some of his magic tricks, convincing people. He knows how to be an authoritarian, but they're still getting YouTube. There's no matter what they do, you want to be a modern society, but you also want to be an oligarchy. Well, the problem is people have access to the internet, and they're going to have workarounds. You could try to ban content. China tries to do it. Doesn't work in Hong Kong and all that stuff. And they're pretty advanced. Their security system's pretty advanced. If they can't control it, I know Russia's not going to be able to control it. And eventually the people are going to get set. There's only so much bullshit people are going to put up with. They're going to listen to them say, well, it's everyone else doing it to us. It's not that we're taking money from you. Russia's a very poor country. Very poor country. And they got just some of the former, in the 1990s, it was 89 and 90 where they had the democratic reform, and they shit all over the original people that broke away, and they did it in Poland too, where the oligarchs come in and say all those people are corrupt, but we're not corrupt because we're wealthy. We can't be corrupted. Well, they don't say why they were. The reason they're corrupt is a lot of times they were members of the Communist Party, and when they became pseudo-democratic, they gave all the concessions to high-level members of it. So like the gas company, oil companies in Russia and stuff like that. A lot of those older guys were all Communist Party officials or children of Communist Party officials. There's some entrepreneurs, computer entrepreneurs, they're coming around, but they're not there. But I didn't know how we got to that way. We started talking about commercials, this, that. Man, it was a wide range of shit. But that's what bars are like. And speaking of bars, if you are in Key Largo, there is a great bar and restaurant called the Cat's Restaurant at mile marker 102 in Key Largo on Oceanside. Open every day for lunch and dinner. From Monday to Friday, they have a happy hour from 3:30 to 6:30 with great deals on drink prices and food prices. Happy hour food prices. And they have specials every day. They have different specials. They have a nice assortment of seafood preparations and non-seafood preparations, because you wouldn't believe how many fishermen here don't eat fish. And after eating mahi all the time. But mahi is delicious. Mahi is delicious. When I first came down here, I would always get mahi, and I'd have some eggs, and I'd pan-sear some mahi and have that for breakfast instead of sausage, just to be a little healthy after I was running or something like that. But it's at mile marker 102. It's open every day of the week. And if you go there, please tell them that the Keys bartender sent you. And if you're lucky, maybe I'll be behind the bar. Tell me that you're there, and I will make note of it. And we'll talk. Also, if you like the show, please share it with your friends. Please leave a review for the show on whatever podcasting app you listen to it on. Share it with your friends or your acquaintances or your family members or your 90-day fiancés. For any of my foreign listeners, I will be, if you are looking for an American spouse, gladly do an introduction. I know we have listeners in Hong Kong, India. What's the other countries I've been seeing? I've seen Vietnam, Costa Rica, some Mexico, Canada. I don't see a lot of Canadians. Canadians don't marry Americans so they can become U.S. citizens. Of course, Canada's, you know what I mean? What's the great change? Unless they need to be in the United States. I don't know why you would. Maybe it's a thing about American football. Right? I don't know. United Kingdom, not much difference there. Or even Europe. But if you would want an introduction, I can do some introductions for that. And as a notary, because I told you I'm a notary, in Florida, I can conduct a ceremony. So I'll do that gratis for you if you ever come down here. If I have any listeners that come down here and you can demonstrate to me that you're a long-term listener, right? When I say demonstrate, I mean, don't come here to listen to the show. This guy said he's going to fucking marry you. I'll conduct the ceremony. I'm not going to marry you. That's a totally different proposition. I'd like to thank you for listening, and we'll be back again probably tomorrow, most likely, if I'm lucky. Bye now.